Welcome to a video where we're going to cover the basics of alternate material in an elevation. So this is for our WinBidPro version 16 software by GDS Estimating. And if you're used to our older V15 software, the alternate stuff is a little different here. So it requires some explanation to get familiar with it. So we have an alternate tab, and before we get into that, it's important to understand how we deal with parts in version 16. So I have a big elevation here, 10 panels, 300 inches wide by 200 inches tall, and I equally divided the lights with 3 equal horizontals. So if we edit the framing system for this elevation, we'll get some basic settings like caulk joints, glass thickness, profile, joinery types, and all that kind of stuff. But also your glass bite is here. So that's the amount of capture that each member has for a glass light. So that's important on this screen. But where all the parts and pieces come into play is under components. And it can be under glazing options if you have glazing adapter and things like that for different thicknesses of glass. But in this video, I kind of want to talk about the assemblies and how those really are critical for having alternate material. So if you want, say, an alternate sill and you need a different sill in certain panels, let's say you have a bulkhead and there's a 2-inch sill at the ground, and then there's a 4-inch sill at the bulkhead that has to match up with some horizontal condition. Something like that requires an additional sill assembly. So in order to do that, we have our standard assemblies that basically give us the elevation that we see back here. But if we need to do something different, especially in certain locations, then we have to add a new assembly. So I would have to say, click the plus sign, and then I could just say Alt Sill if I want to name it something different, which you should. And then this is where I would have a different profile. If the glass bite's different, you can change that here. There's some other options here, but the main thing is we want to start adding part numbers, right? So I don't really know part numbers offhand for the YKK parts for a sill, but I'm just going to pick one here. So if I say that this is my sill, and let's say there's 3 parts that make up the sill, then add all those parts. You can add the gasket material. You can add any shear blocks, anything like that that's required for that alternate sill. So once you've done that, and there's other videos for part options and things that you can watch too, so we'll just cover the basics here. But basically I've created an alternate sill, and that's what I would be selecting for that. So let's just show you that real quick. So if I go to alternate and I hit edit, this is where I need to tell it what panels I want the sill to apply to. So I'm going to I would just click on the sill members themselves. So I'm going to select, say, 3 different sill members, and then I'm going to tell it I want the alt sill. This is why we would name it something different. I have to click alt sill, and then you'll notice you have a way to add a new assembly right here. Like if we didn't have to do it back in the elevations tab and edit the framing system and all that, I can just do it right from here. So if I save that now, you'll notice now I've got a 4-inch sill showing compared to the 2 1/4 or whatever this system has. So, and then you see entries in this grid that show which panels specifically and which assembly those sills have. So the beauty of the assemblies are you can have pretty much an infinite amount of options for alternates. So you can have alternate horizontals, you can have alternate jambs, wall jambs, verticals, head, all those things. So door jambs, it doesn't matter. So all those things are assembly based, and you can have multiple assemblies, and then you just basically pick one to tell it which one needs to be the alternate. So I'm going to have a separate video for a corner post, because that's pretty common, and expansion mullions, which is also common. But for basic head sill, now it's easy. The alternate thing is really important if you just need to change specific panels or specific verticals, let's say. But if you want to change an entire head for an elevation, you don't really need to make an alternate. You can actually just edit the head in the framing system. So you can actually do it either way. You can either create an alternate and then select it with the alternate tab, or you can go into your components tab, go to the head, and just start changing all these parts out. And the easiest way to do that is to edit the assembly. And keep in mind, if you do something like that, this system was configured with these specific parts that you'll see right away. But if you change it to, say, a 4-inch head and change a bunch of part numbers, this detailed drawing is not going to be correct anymore. So you'll have to know that going into it. So that's one catch with just changing a head. So that would kind of make the argument for creating a new assembly even better. So you would create a new assembly, enter all the parts in the new profile, and then there wouldn't be a detail at that point. So you would have to download your own detail and add it to your shop drawings, but through CAD basically. But eventually we're going to let you create an assembly and upload your own detail, or even select your own detail from a list. So that requires some security since we're web-based on this data. But we're working on that, so eventually that feature will be there. But for now, if you create your own assembly, keep in mind that the detail won't be there. And for your shop drawings, you would have to open the files in CAD and then add your own detail, which you can download from the manufacturer. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, how the alternate stuff works. But keep an eye out for the other videos on corner posts and expansion mullions. Thanks very much.